This isn't just some fan theory. The most jaw-dropping plot details for the movie we used to call Avengers the Kang Dynasty, now officially titled Avengers Doomsday, have apparently been spilled by an insider who's got a pretty good track record. And folks, if this is on the money, it's bigger than Endgame. It's bigger than Infinity War. This leak doesn't just hint at what one movie is about, it completely flips the script on the entire multiverse saga and everything we thought we knew about what's coming for Earth's mightiest heroes. Seriously, you might want to sit down for this, because things are about to get wild. Alright, let's get into these massive revelations that are sending tremors through the entire MCU fan base. The info we're digging into today mainly comes from Alex Perez of the Cosmic Circus. If you don't know, the Cosmic Circus, and Perez in particular, have a knack for dropping some surprisingly accurate Marvel scoops. This isn't just random stuff from a forum. It's information that industry watchers and diehard fans take seriously, even though you always gotta take leaks with a pinch of salt. Now, before we jump into the what of this leak, let's talk about the Kang-shaped elephant in the room. As a lot of you know, Avengers 5 was originally called Avengers the Kang Dynasty. Jonathan Majors was all set to come back as Kang the Conqueror, the multiversal big bad teased throughout phases 4 and 5. But, thanks to some real-world issues that led to Marvel and Majors parting ways, and maybe because Kang's outing in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania didn't exactly blow everyone away, Marvel Studios decided to make a pretty big change. Then, at San Diego Comic-Con in July 2024, they dropped a bombshell. The film was officially renamed Avengers Doomsday, and that wasn't the only huge news. The legendary Russo brothers, Anthony and Joe Russo, the geniuses behind Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame, were confirmed to be returning to direct not just Avengers Doomsday, but also its sequel, Avengers Secret Wars. That alone was enough to send the hype train off the rails. But Marvel wasn't finished. The new main villain for this whole saga, none other than Victor Von Doom, Dr. Doom himself. And in a casting move that absolutely nobody saw coming, Robert Downey Jr., our beloved Tony Stark, Iron Man, is officially coming back to the MCU to play this iconic baddie. Now, it's really important, and sources have stressed this, Downey Jr. is not playing some evil version of Tony Stark. He is Victor Von Doom. Apparently, Kevin Feige had this idea brewing for a long time, even thinking about RDJ for Doom way back for that 2005 Fantastic Four movie. This isn't just a little course correction. It's like they're tearing out pages and completely rewriting the climax of the multiverse saga. And this brings us right to the heart of the leak from Alex Perez. The story for Avengers Doomsday has totally changed. Instead of Kang and his zillions of variants being the main guys causing multiversal mayhem, the focus, according to this leak, is now squarely on the heroes themselves and the fallout from their actions. The actual fabric of reality is coming apart. Not because of one villain's master plan, but because of a whole bunch of well-meaning but ultimately disastrous decisions made by the very people sworn to protect it. This is a huge shift in how the MCU tells stories, moving away from a single baddie from outside to an internal, almost existential crisis brought on by the whole idea of heroism in a broken multiverse. The film is currently slated for release on December 18th, 2026. That date itself is a delay from its original May 2026 spot, supposedly to make room for the gargantuan vision of the production. Filming reportedly kicked off in April 2025 at Pinewood Studios in England. While Marvel did announce a massive cast list back in March 2025 with tons of returning MCU actors and even some from Fox's X-Men films, we've got to remember that specific plot points and just how much each character is involved based only on leaks should be taken with a healthy dose of skepticism until Marvel Studios gives us the official word. So what does this heroes are the cause idea actually mean according to Alex Perez's leak? Let's break down the really explosive bits. The main idea is that the big incursion event, that universe-colliding catastrophe we've been hearing about in Avengers Doomsday, will directly involve Earth 616, our main MCU timeline, and another universe. This might be the one where Monica Rambeau ended up at the end of the Marvels, possibly a universe with its own X-Men. This isn't just some random cosmic accident, it's a direct result of things people did in these universes. The leak suggests that Avengers Doomsday will argue it's not just one heroic screw-up, but a whole pile of them that has pushed the multiverse to the edge. Think about it. Doctor Strange's reality-messing spell in Spider-Man No Way Home, which pulled beings from other universes into the 616. The potential incursions Clea warned Strange about at the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, caused by Strange's own universe-hopping and dream-walking. America Chavez's powers, punching holes between realities when she couldn't control them. The actions of Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, from another universe, maybe the Illuminati's Reed from Earth 838, or the MCU's upcoming version, whose smarts and ambition might have had totally unforeseen results. Even Loki's moves at the TVA, while seeming to stabilize the timelines at the end of Loki Season 2, could have unexpected ripples across the whole multiversal setup. According to Perez's info, the heroes constantly messing with the natural order of space and time, always trying to fix, patch up, or manipulate the multiverse for what they think is the greater good, are the main things driving its collapse. It's a terrible irony. In their desperate attempts to save everything, they might be the ones actually causing its ultimate end. This isn't saying they're turning into villains, but more that the sheer scale of their power and how complicated the multiverse is mean that even the best intentions can have devastating universe-breaking consequences. This is supposedly where Dr. Doom storms in, and he's furious. The leak says Doom is incandescent with rage, not just at the heroes, but specifically at Kang. Why? Because Kang, through his He Who Remains version, manipulated the sacred timeline, created the TVA, and systematically wiped out countless realities and timelines, all to stop his other variants from showing up. Doom, being super smart and having a massive ego, probably sees this as an unforgivable act of cosmic arrogance and a total defiling of the natural order. An order he might think he's destined to control or perfect. So, while Kang and his variants might not be the main bad guys driving the plot of Doomsday like they were originally planned for in the Kang dynasty, his legacy and the mess he made are still very much in play. Kang created the system that's now apparently falling apart, and Doom is stepping into that power vacuum, maybe to slap his own twisted kind of order onto the chaos that follows. This leak points to a really interesting setup where Doom isn't just some power-hungry dictator, but someone who sees the heroes meddling and Kang's previous manipulations as equally terrible crimes against reality itself. Imagine this: the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the leftover heroes of Earth 616 are all desperately trying to stop their universe from getting wiped out by an incursion they accidentally helped start. At the same time, Dr. Doom is on his own mission, possibly seeing both the heroes and whatever's left of Kang's influence as roadblocks to his own grand plan for the multiverse. This sets up a conflict with way more layers than a simple good guys versus bad guys fight. The leak also hints that we might see different groups of heroes with different ideas on how to fix the crisis. Some might believe in taking radical, dangerous steps to save their reality, maybe even siding with Doom if his methods look like they could work, no matter how morally sketchy. This idea of heroes wading into morally gray areas as things get more desperate is a key point that keeps coming up in talks about Perez's leaks. The pressure of a universal collapse breathing down their necks could break the Avengers and their allies in ways we've never imagined, forcing them to make impossible choices. This leaked framework paints Avengers Doomsday as a movie dripping with cosmic horror, tough ethical questions, and a heavy sense of responsibility falling on heroes who might be way out of their league, facing a crisis they brought on themselves. The stakes aren't just about beating a villain. They're about facing the real consequences of being a hero in an infinitely complex and delicate multiverse. If these leaks are legit, the fallout for Avengers Doomsday and the entire multiverse saga is just wow. This isn't just slapping a new sticker on the old Kang Dynasty plan. It's like they're completely rebuilding the saga's main themes and where the story is going. First off, changing from Kang as the one big bad to a situation where heroic actions are the main reason for multiversal breakdown is a total game changer. The multiverse saga, up to now, has mostly felt like a build-up to a massive fight against Kang and his variants. We saw it in Loki in Quantumania. The threat was external, a conqueror from somewhere else. Now this leak suggests Marvel is making us look in the mirror. The saga becomes less about fighting an invader and more about a day of reckoning. It digs into the incredible power wielded by Earth-616's heroes and asks a pretty scary question. What if that power, even when used with the best of intentions, has a catastrophic downside? This thematic shift makes room for a much deeper and possibly more tragic look at heroism. It goes beyond simple good versus evil and into the messy gray areas of consequences and accountability. Our heroes, who've always found a way to win, to save the day, might now be up against a problem that their usual tactics, punching harder, flying faster, inventing some new gadget, just can't fix, or worse, might actually make things even more chaotic. This really cranks up the emotional stakes. It's one thing to fight a villain. It's a whole other deal to wrestle with the idea that your own efforts to protect everyone have led to disaster. Bringing in Dr. Doom, played by Robert Downey Jr. in this kind of story is also incredibly powerful. Doom, in the comics, isn't just a cackling bad guy. He's a super complex character with his own vision of order, even if it's a tyrannical one. If the heroes are seen as agents of chaos, whether they mean to be or not, Doom could position himself as the only one who can impose stability, the only one who can stop the incursions through sheer willpower and smarts. His anger at Kang for messing with the sacred timeline, like the leak suggests, adds another layer. Doom might see himself as the rightful judge of destiny, a response to both Kang's manipulations and the hero's reckless endangering of the multiverse. This reframes Avengers Doomsday as not just a disaster flick, but a deep philosophical battle. What's true order? What's the cost of saving one universe if it means another gets wiped out? Can absolute power, even in the hands of heroes, ever be truly controlled without devastating side effects? These are heavy questions, the kind that can lift a superhero blockbuster into something that really sticks with you. Think about how this affects individual characters. How does Captain America, Sam Wilson, lead the Avengers when the very act of avenging might be making the problem worse? How does Doctor Strange, the former Sorcerer Supreme who's directly messed with reality, square his past actions with this current crisis? What about characters like Spider-Man, whose desire to help everyone accidentally ripped open the multiverse in No Way Home? The potential for rich character drama, for heroes to be pushed to their absolute limits, is huge. This leaked direction also gives a strong story reason for the sheer size of Doomsday and its follow-up, Secret Wars. If multiple incursions are happening, if the very fabric of reality is tearing apart because of a whole mess of factors, it naturally means bringing together a massive team of heroes from different realities and franchises, something heavily hinted at by that extensive cast list announced in March 2025. The X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Thunderbolts, all coming together not just to fight one villain, but to face a multiversal apocalypse that their counterparts, or maybe even they themselves, had a hand in creating. The idea from Alex Perez's Q&A that some heroes might even side with Doom, seeing him as a savior when faced with total annihilation, is especially juicy. It suggests a split in the heroic community that could make the fight in Captain America Civil War look like a minor disagreement. When the choices are between total oblivion and a tyrannical order, where do heroes draw the line? What does this all mean for Avengers Secret Wars? The leaks suggest Doomsday is the crisis, and Secret Wars will be the aftermath and maybe the solution. If Doomsday ends with the multiverse in an even worse state, or perhaps even partially collapsed into a battle world type situation, a popular theory based on the comics, then Secret Wars becomes the ultimate fight for the survival of whatever's left, and maybe a chance to rebuild or reboot reality. Alex Perez has mentioned that his sources don't see Secret Wars as a full MCU reboot, but more like an update to the timeline where characters like the Fantastic Four and X-Men can just naturally exist. This lines up with the general plan of fully bringing these properties into the MCU. The leak also subtly deals with the Kang problem. By shifting the focus away from Kang as the active, present threat and making him more of a catalyst whose past actions, like creating the sacred timeline and the TVA, set the stage for the current crisis, Marvel can acknowledge his importance to the multiverse saga's initial setup without needing him to be the main guy going forward. Dr. Doom then rises as the more immediate and perhaps ideologically opposite threat. Someone who's reacting to the chaos that Kang and now the heroes have stirred up. But it's super important to keep a level head here. While Alex Perez and the Cosmic Circus have a decent track record, these are still leaks, not official announcements from Marvel Studios. Plot details can change a lot during development and production. The preliminary, pre-production stuff Perez talked about can definitely be altered. Marvel is famous for its secrecy and its willingness to tweak storylines. The very fact that the film changed from Kang Dynasty to Doomsday with a new villain shows how adaptable they are. What these leaks do give us is a fascinating peek into the possible direction of the MCU, a direction that seems to be aiming for a more complex, thematically rich, and hero-focused conflict than we might have expected. It suggests a multiverse saga that will end not just in a spectacular fight, but in a deep look at power, responsibility, and what heroism really means in a universe, or rather multiverse, that's far more dangerous and interconnected than ever before. The story isn't just about stopping a bad guy, it's about the Avengers and their allies facing the terrifying idea that their greatest enemy might be the unforeseen consequences of their own heroism. And that, if it's true, is a far more compelling and mature storyline for the MCU to tackle as it heads towards the end of this ambitious saga. The gargantuan vision mentioned for the film's production schedule suddenly makes a lot more sense if this is the kind of intricate, character-driven, and thematically heavy story they're trying to tell. Looking past Avengers Doomsday itself, what does this leaked story direction tell us about the bigger future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? If the heroes really are responsible for the multiversal collapse, or at least majorly contributed to it, this totally changes how we might see their ongoing and future adventures. First, it sets up a more consequential MCU. Actions, even heroic ones, will have massive and potentially devastating ripple effects. This moves away from a purely one-off feel where one crisis is solved and the universe mostly hits reset. Instead, we're looking at a deeply interconnected saga where the past constantly shapes and complicates the present and future. The weight of Doomsday, if these leaks pan out, will hang heavy over any stories that come after. This could lead to a more cautious, maybe even fractured heroic community after Secret Wars. If the heroes manage to save reality or build a new one, they'll do it knowing full well their own capacity to unintentionally break it. This could mean new accords, new oversight, or even deeper philosophical splits among them about how and when to use their powers. With great power comes great responsibility, takes on a terrifying new meaning. The integration of characters like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, supposedly made easier by the events of Secret Wars according to Perez leaks, becomes even more interesting. These new heroes will be walking into an MCU that's been fundamentally scarred and reshaped by the actions of its current protectors. Will they bring a fresh perspective? Or will they too get tangled up in the complex web of multiversal cause and effect? The Fantastic Four, especially with Reed Richards' intellect, are perfect candidates for exploring more of that double-edged sword of scientific progress and heroic intervention. Dr. Doom's role, played by Robert Downey Jr., also sets a new bar for MCU villains if these leaks are accurate. He isn't just a conqueror, he's an ideologue, a self-proclaimed savior reacting to what he sees as the failures of both Kang and the heroes. This could pave the way for more intellectually challenging and morally ambiguous antagonists in future phases. Villains who challenge the heroes not just physically, but philosophically. Fan reaction to RDJ as Doom has been a mixed bag, with some thrilled and others worried about the casting choice overshadowing Doom himself. But the sheer star power and the story potential are undeniable. The idea that Secret Wars isn't a hard reboot but an update to the timeline also has big implications. It means Marvel isn't just tossing out its rich history, but is instead finding a way to organically grow it, allowing for new characters and concepts to be woven into the existing fabric. That's a smart move, respecting the investment fans have in the established MCU while still bringing the freshness that new properties offer. What about projects set between Doomsday and Secret Wars? There's talk that these films and shows might even happen on a battle world-like reality, a direct result of Doomsday's climax. That would be an incredibly gutsy move, allowing for unique, isolated stories in a broken, pieced-together world before Secret Wars tries to fix the overarching crisis. Titles like a potential Doctor Strange 3, Shang-Chi 2, or even a World War Hulk project, if they landed in this period, could explore these fractured realities in fascinating ways. The rescheduling of Avengers Doomsday to December 18th, 2026, and Avengers Secret Wars to December 17th, 2027, gives the creative teams, including the returning Russo brothers and writer Stephen McFeely, who reportedly took over from Michael Waldron for Doomsday, with some reports saying McFeely is writing both, more time to fine-tune these complex stories. The sheer scale of the cast, the ambition of the storyline with incursions and potentially world-shattering consequences really demands this careful approach. It's a future where being a hero is more complicated, where victories might come at a terrible cost, and where the biggest threats might not come from outer space, but from within the very ideals the Avengers stand for. This leaked vision for Avengers Doomsday paints it as a turning point. A film that doesn't just promise spectacle, but also a deep dive into what it truly means to be a hero in a universe teetering on the brink of self-destruction. The age of simple victories looks to be over. The age of consequences has well and truly begun. But what do you think? This is a massive leak, with potentially universe-shattering implications for the MCU. Do you buy this as the direction Avengers Doomsday is heading? Are you excited by the thought of heroes grappling with the fallout of their own actions? And what about Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom? Genius casting, or a bit of a confusing move? I want to hear all your theories, your excitement, your doubts. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What forgotten characters do you think might suddenly play a huge role? Which hero do you think will struggle the most with this new reality? Let's break it all down. And of course, if you want to stay on top of all the latest MCU news, breakdowns, and theories, especially as we get closer to Avengers Doomsday, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single thing. We'll be tracking every development, every rumor, and every official announcement right here. So, there you have it. The biggest Avengers Doomsday leak we've seen yet, pointing to a radical and pretty thrilling new direction for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've shifted from the shadow of Kang the Conqueror to a scenario where Doctor Doom is on the rise, and the Avengers themselves might just be the architects of their own and the multiverse's potential doom. With the Russo brothers back in charge, Robert Downey Jr. making a villainous comeback as Doctor Doom, and a massive cast of heroes facing a crisis born from their own good intentions, Avengers Doomsday, set for December 2026, is shaping up to be an event unlike anything we've ever seen. This isn't just about fighting to survive, it's about confronting the very core of what it means to be a hero in a world or worlds that are dangerously interconnected. The multiverse saga looks like it's building to a story that questions the price of power and the unexpected fallout of even the best intentions. It's a bold, complex, and potentially heartbreaking road ahead for our heroes. While we always have to treat leaks carefully, the sheer amount of detail and how it all fits together, especially coming from a source like Alex Perez and the Cosmic Circus, really makes you pay attention. The path to Doomsday and Secret Wars will be packed with more twists, turns, and no doubt, more official news. But for now, this leak has given us a tantalizing and honestly mind-blowing peek into what could be the most ambitious and game-changing chapter in MCU history. The era of heroes facing down clear-cut villains might be evolving into an age where heroes have to face their own reflections in a shattered multiversal mirror. Thanks for watching.